This is Curious Brain Farts.
Well, hello, Louise.
Hello, Paul. How are you? Good morning.
Good after morning, noon, evening. On this potentially sunny Thursday, depending on where you are in the world.
We love to see it. Thank you to the sun.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's great. It's like proper spring in action. Spring into action.
Our clocks changed at the weekend just gone. And
I've got jet lag.
same. I've got low-key jet lag. Hashtag that's real. I mean, it's just it just puts a little bit of extra strain on you, doesn't it? That little bit, that extra hour of
Yeah, it's funny.
lack of sleep.
And yet, I'm happy to do that in favour of having some sunshine.
Yeah. Lighter evenings.
Everybody loves the sunshine.
I was thinking, I've got such a busy day today. I may not get my dogs out. Who got the dogs out? Not me.
Not you.
Potentially not me. And I can do it at the end of the day when I finish work at about 6:30. It'll still be light enough.
Okay, fine.
I mean, come on. That's good.
Nothing like a
We
bit
love to
showing
see
off. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Which is very nice. I gave
So,
Roscoe
Paul,
the end of the peanut butter tub. You know, like you get those big things of peanut butter.
Yeah.
And he loves peanut butter. And it was at the very end, and I'd scraped around and bloody-blah. And then I gave it to him earlier, and I'm just stroking his head now, and it's all crispy.
Yeah.
Well, because he could stick his whole face in there. And, yeah, so he's going to be enjoying peanut butter for a little while.
Good.
Which is nice.
Lovely. Very nice. So, did you manage to get the RTG plugged in?
I did, yes. I had to get one of the Euro adapters out because I thought it was
really?
standard 3-pin, and it turns out it's not. And I needed one of the bloody Euro adapters. I've been rummaging around. Finally
Well,
found one.
Well, let's wheel it outside because if it's sunny, we can run on solar, can't we?
That is true. That is true. Although, yeah, might have to remove the semi-permanent building around it.
Well, semi-permanent being the key
Fine.
thing there, really.
Right, I'll just fire up the massive lorry just to tow it out into the sunshine.
Yeah, I think we might need to look into a bit of capital investment into some micro technology.
I agree, actually, because, if we pull together all the earnings from the podcast so far, we should be able to, I'm not sure what we'd be able to do, to be honest, because the earnings are just innumerable.
Well, then we can do what we want.
Okay, fine. Fine. I think from now on, we need to be in the helicopter when we press the button. Obviously, we can't do that right now, today.
No, indeed. No, indeed.
So having said
what
that...
we'll do is push the button just normally, maybe.
Okay, fine. Whatever. Just push the button normally. Whatever. Fine. Well, let's do that then.
Random theme generator. Random theme generator.
Well, there you have it. We're back.
We're back and we're proud.
Indeed. And the word... Ooh. Well, must be someone's phone too near to something or other.
Oh.
The word we have today, Louise, should have come out of your printer. If you could just check.
Hang on, please. Yes. Okay, good. The word is vulnerability.
Easy for you to say.
Vulnerability.
Okay, fine.
And the meaning, the quality. That's Nigel.
Just a question. Oh, I thought it's either a creaking door or one of your dogs.
I didn't. I've just been so busy I haven't had time to let him out, and now he's whining. So we'll just leave it. Cross your legs, nice. Do you get what I'm saying? So, vulnerability, the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed either physically or emotionally. That's one definition. Gosh.
Nice.
The quality of being vulnerable, able to be easily hurt, influenced or attacked. Okay. What else? I'm just looking for another...
Something that isn't as depressing?
Yeah, basically. Vulnerable. Let's just look at vulnerable as a thing.
This is great.
Able to be
great
easily...
audio material.
Yeah, sorry about this. Not physically strong. Able to be attacked. The people who can be badly affected by a disease because they already have health problems. Basically, wherever I look, it's able to be easily hurt, influenced or attacked.
Okay, great.
Have you got anything else that's not that?
Not that I'm finding.
Roger.
Because it's got like, a vulnerable person.
Yes.
Someone who's has special care needs or support or protection.
Yes.
Stuff like that. You're like, right, okay. I'm already tuning into like that. Those are definitions. Those, if someone said to me, talk about vulnerability, that is not the first place I would have gone.
No, same. What's the first place you would have gone then?
Probably Asda. In fact, I don't shop at Asda.
For some special vulnerability sauce.
Where I would have gone would have been more connected to authenticity. That's where I would have gone. So the fact that, for example, human vulnerability, being vulnerable with someone. In fact, I was talking to a coaching client just this morning who was reflecting on how they felt they had been vulnerable in the session and it felt good. It was something really positive for them. It's also a leadership trait as well. Being able to be vulnerable and allow yourself not to be right all the time or have the need to be right all the time, to show more of your human side. You're not a robot, therefore there are strengths and weaknesses, there are stronger bits and squidgier bits. So for me, that's where I was going when I first heard you say that.
Yeah, similar, but I think then it is a thing that we find exposing, and it does show the not strong parts of ourselves, if you like, which maybe we're being conditioned, maybe it's a deep survival instinct within us. You don't necessarily show your soft underbelly, as it were, to the saber-toothed tiger. But then we have that relationally, we defend, we mask, we
speak for yourself.
Don't show who we are necessarily. Cultural norms. I was talking yesterday to a group of young people about the ubiquitous they, in inverted commas. Well, there's an expectation. Is there? Where's that come from then? Well, they always say, who are they? Tell me. Who is this kind of anonymous, amorphous body-o people called they?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And they appear everywhere.
100% they do. And so there is a perceived lack of safety in vulnerability. If you're going to be vulnerable, it is going to expose you, and therefore you could be opening yourself up to giving other people the ability to hurt you. I just think that's baked into it. There's no way
Yes.
you can get away from that.
Which therefore makes it something that is strong as opposed to weak. Because if you're able to face into some of those situations as opposed to avoiding them, that absolutely is connected to inner strength. So vulnerability isn't a weakness, and even in the definition it doesn't say that. Exposed to the possibility of excuse me, being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. Now, obviously, we're talking more on the emotional side, potentially, in what we mean. And so it's being willing to expose yourself to the possibility. It's not you're putting yourself in harm's way. There's a bus coming and you're just going to step out in front of it. That's not being vulnerable.
No.
So it is powerful, though. You know, when you think about, even if you've been to an event and there's been a keynote speaker or a company you've worked at and there was someone who displayed vulnerability, or whatever setting you may find, there is this greater degree, in my experience, a greater degree of connection, of willingness to connect with the other person in that circumstance, in that situation, because they have displayed some of their own humanity as a result.
Yes.
Instead of, like you said earlier, masking and avoiding and pretending and all the rest of it. And because we're all human and we're therefore equally fallible in different ways and so on, we're all perfectly imperfect, that really strikes a chord of resonance between us and the person that we're seeing who is vulnerable. Because even if we're not displaying vulnerability, there is this harmonic resonance between the person who is being vulnerable and the other.
The other thing to say about that is that your friend of mine, Brené Brown,
I love Brené.
she's a massive Donny, and she, in her TED, if you haven't seen her TED Talks, do check them out. I think they're fantastic. But she talks about this concept of wholeheartedness and wholehearted living, and the people who have love and connection, and the difference between those people and the people who don't have love and connection. The core difference was the people who had it believed they were worthy of it. But one of the key features of wholehearted living is vulnerability. Is it risky? Yes. Does it take things completely or partly out of your control? Yes. Is it a prerequisite for living in a wholehearted way? Yes. And I just think, okay, great, let's go. Which isn't to say I'm going to walk down the street in something that I don't feel comfortable in, or jump off a bridge in one of those squirrel flappy suits. You know? Mm-hmm. Do you know?
I know what you mean.
What are they called?
Yeah.
Base jumpers. I don't want to do none of that.
Well, they tend to have parachutes,
I don't want none of that flappy squirrel suit jumping off. That's not what vulnerability is for me, and of course it's going to be different for all of us.
It comes back to me to that authenticity. So even with doing this podcast, you know, we are exposing ourselves to the possibility of being harmed emotionally, let's say, by doing this, because someone might take great exception and start putting hateful comments. It's the same thing actually with like the socials. You know, we dabble in the social media land.
I guess
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's the same thing. Depending on how you put yourself out there, I feel that, you know, we are being... Well, certainly, I'll talk for myself. The way I am showing up is wholeheartedly, with a great degree of heartedness. And as such, you know, just like with love, you can't demand love of the other. You put yourself out there in vulnerability in the hope that that is reciprocated and so forth. And it may not be. Just like the work that we do here with the podcast and with other things, I put my heart, as it were, on my sleeve because I believe I am doing things with a great degree of heartedness. And so that can leave me vulnerable, in inverted commas, if I were not okay with the fact that it's only a possibility. And for me, the way I see it is not something that's negative. I see that really as me showing up as my authentic self, which someone may or may not like, and that's also okay.
So then let me ask you this. There is the vulnerability and the risk that you might be exposing yourself to whatever. And that's true. What have you actually experienced? As a result of your vulnerability?
Yeah. For me, so far, it's been very positive. And I was talking to someone just the other day who happened to mention that they'd listened to the podcast. And by the way, it's something I'm extremely proud of, and I love to share with people whenever I get the opportunity to meet someone new. I love to tell them about the podcast. And this person, whom I don't know very well at all, I've had one-to-one meeting with them as part of a networking thing. They'd been listening, I think it was reading that they were listening to, and for them, they really loved it. They loved the vibe, how laid back and easy it is, how we just seem to be so comfortable and relaxed with each other because we're showing up as we do in a normal conversation. And so it's, for me, that's why I keep coming back to showing up as, you know, trying to be my authentic self, is it's not been a negative experience. And sure, there is a possibility that can happen. However, the evidence I have to date is that it's not been a negative experience. What about yourself, Louise?
Well, I was just thinking that then we might want to change the definition and say, Cambridge, Oxford, you've got it wrong. Because you do open yourself up to the possibility of being harmed, but you also open yourself up to the possibility of connection and reciprocity in that open-heartedness and
abundance,
all sorts of other things. So that definition strikes me as off kilter.
Yeah, it's very one-sided. It is more from a scarcity and negative standpoint.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about that. You know, I'm curious as to why that's where the definition is, because like we said earlier about leadership, you know, it being an important leadership trait to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
So how is that reflected in this definition? Because that isn't a, inverted commas, new thing.
No, indeed.
It's been around for a few decades, and I know the dictionary is regularly updated. So question, Oxford and Cambridge, maybe you two should get your heads together.
Right.
Once you've listened to the podcast, you're welcome.
Because they add new words in every
Yes.
year, don't they? Like, you know, the very second that, I don't know, Riz went into the dictionary, it was then dead for all of the young people who were using it. And no one ever said Riz again. And it was just the boomers who were
Yep.
late to the party that started saying it. But the point
Yes.
is, so the dictionary doesn't necessarily always reflect the reality of people's experience, I guess, is what we're saying, which is
Yes.
fine. But also get your act together. Hashtag no judgment.
We're just curious.
So yeah, I think I agree with you, Paul. I think it's a hugely powerful thing to do. I think it's a hugely abundant thing to do. It's a positive thing to do. It is also very uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
you need to. I mean, certainly if we're talking about leadership, that needs to be carefully discerned and judged. Context and setting is important. But having said all of that, when you boil it all down, it's one of the core ingredients of a wholehearted connection with another person, and therefore, how can it be bad?
And it just got me thinking about, this doesn't mean we go into work bawling and wailing or shouting and screaming.
Ah,
and
that's where I've been going wrong, maybe.
it's why we've been working remotely for some time, Louise. It doesn't mean that we need to do those things, because that isn't being vulnerable. That's something very different, and it relates to one of the other episodes we've done, the games we play. You know, that's some kind of emotional drive-by that is looking for some kind of attention or affection or sympathy or whatever it might happen to be. That's not being vulnerable, actually. What that is doing is perpetuating the mask that's in place, is not the authentic self. And so it's more about, you know, something big happens, like a loved one, God forbid, a loved one passes away or something, or you receive some really terrible news when you're at work. And to have an authentic reaction to that is fine.
Yeah.
And, you know, to feel these big things or whatever else, that's part of being, you know, vulnerable. And notice that's not necessarily the same for like an angry outburst. You know, that's not necessarily being vulnerable, because that is the same as turning up at work and wailing and crying about all the stuff that is or isn't going the right way. You know, an angry outburst is just the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is important to notice when maybe something to reflect on is when we are speaking for these big things. So it's fine for me to speak on behalf of these big feelings and to maybe share that in some vulnerability. You know, I'm feeling concerned about whatever, the new strategy, my job, or whatever, to speak for it as opposed to from it, which would be from a state of panic or, you know, total anxiety or whatever it happens to be. And things like talking about work-life balance, you know, something less dramatic. And being vulnerable about that. You know, I want to be home more to be able to read a story to my children. I don't like being here so late in the office.
I really like that distinction, Paul, for or from, because if it's for, then you are advocating for yourself, and there is some vulnerability in saying, I actually... That's not okay with me to return to the office 5 days a week because I have caring responsibilities and I'm a parent or whatever. But if you're in it, if you're fully in it, that's when you're more likely to be in a place of being triggered, possibly, see earlier episode on that topic, or you're being overwhelmed by the thoughts and feelings. And so... that, am I speaking for it or from it, is a really nice way. If there's a certain level of detachment, you know, with the for it way of coming at things, which doesn't mean you're not expressing how you feel. It just means that's not complete. You're not completely embodied those feelings. Oh, I've lost my thread. I've had a brain fart. That wasn't very good, England. My apologies.
It's amazing. Love that. Yeah, so vulnerability is often referred to as a weakness. You know, Superman's vulnerability is the kryptonite. And Bruce Wayne's vulnerability is, I don't know, something else.
Who's Bruce Wayne? I don't know him.
I'm Batman.
Oh, is that Bruce Wayne? Nice.
That's not a spoiler, by the way, guys.
And Darth Vader is Luke's father. That's also not a spoiler.
And that turns out is his vulnerability.
Yeah, exactly. So it is perceived as weakness in some settings, but in this human relational way that we're talking about it, with boundaries and a context and all of that, it is the stuff of real depth and authenticity.
Yeah, and the other thing was, even with the Darth Vader and the Luke Skywalker thing, it's that vulnerability actually that saved the day, because instead of Darth Vader killing Luke, something else happened. In just in case you've not watched Star Wars before, don't know where you've been, and in case you haven't,
maybe they're young, Paul. Young people might not have come across it.
Yeah,
It's not in their zeitgeist.
Our standard demographic.
Yes, that's right.
Amazing. Oh, well, I mean, I don't know about you. I'm feeling particularly vulnerable, so I might go outside, actually. The sun is shining. The weather is sweet,
Yeah, exactly that. And so maybe the thing to reflect on is how we have a little bit more vulnerability in some places or settings where it's not our go-to. Maybe at work is a good one. Maybe we have really nice balance of vulnerability at work, but maybe we notice that it's really not present. So yeah, something to think about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So maybe a question here. How can we embrace vulnerability today? Just something to ponder on.
Yeah, nice. Let's go and have a vulnerable day, Paul.
I'm going to do that. I actually started that way and I intend to finish
Good
that
for
way.
you. We love to see it.
Amazing.
Yeah. Shemaze balls.
Well, good. Fine. Oh, quick one.
Oh, yeah.
People are queuing up to figure out how they can get involved with the podcast. I mean, I'm literally not inundated with, so I'm undated with requests for how to get involved. So Lou, pray tell.
First of all, thank you for your vulnerability and acknowledging that you don't know how to get in touch with us and asking the question. And here, thusly, as follows is the answer. If you would please like to send us an email, curiousbrainfarts@gmail.com. Lovely job.
Amazeballs.
Lovely.
We've nailed this.
I agree.
Absolutely.
And
nailed
that
it.
I'm not being vulnerable when I say that. It's just a fact.
I am. I'm vulnerably admitting that we've nailed it. God, bloody hell. Imagine saying that after a few wines.
It's like
In
any
fact, that is
word.
one of our...
If you say it too much, it sounds funny. Vulnerability.
Vulnerable. Say vulnerable several times in a row.
The venerable, vulnerable, victorious something.
I want you to say vulnerable 7 times in a row. Go.
Vulnerable.
Oh, interesting. Yes, interesting. Well done. Well done, Louise. You've passed. Everyone else has already tuned up.
Oh, I'm so delighted.
Amazing.
Well, I send you lots of
thanks
love
for coming.
and I will speak to you soon.
Maybe I send you lots of love as well.
Whatever.
Okay?
Fine.
Fine.
It's not all about you.
Well, good.
There's Roscoe with his peanut
What?
butter face. Nigel, I'm going to let you out to do a wee. Everything's fine.
Amazing. Okay, guys, everyone relax. We'll see you soon.
Take care. Bye, love.
Curious Brain Farts.